Here we are, 1 week to go to the grand final for 2016 on Lachie's weekly footy roundup, aka Lachie Does Footy. Very soon, once again, but this time it's Lachie's version. Anyways, we'll be reviewing the semi-final and we'll be doing the preliminary final predictions and previewing the game. Hawthorn versus Western Bulldogs at the MCG. Well, most of Australia will be cheering around this time. Hawthorn's hopes of winning 4 in a row is, well, done and dusted. What a second half by the Western Bulldogs. They were down at one stage against Hawthorn by 20-odd points. And then they came out swinging. At one stage, they were leading by about 40 points in the last quarter to book themselves a preliminary final berth against GWS. Jack McRae, what a game for him for the Dogs. 39 disposals, 3 clearances, 2 tackles, and 8 marks. Josh Dunkley had a great game himself as well. 23 disposals, 6 tackles, and a goal. Hawthorn's best was captain Luke Hodge. 20 disposals, 6 tackles, and 2 goals. Anyway, speaking of 2 goals, let's look at the multiple goal kickers. Jake Stringer kicked 3. Welcome, he's back in form after a few weeks in the VFL. Liam Hicken with 3 goals. Clay Smith with 2, and Marcus Bontempelli with 2 for the Dogs. For Hawthorn, Liam Shields and Luke Hodge have all kicked 2 each. Well, sorry Hawthorn fans. Looks like their chances of winning a premiership that always got. So there's one they can go. Could go again in 2017 for maybe one more flag run. For the Bulldogs, if they could beat GWS next week, they could be the first team in the top 8 era to go from the elimination final all the way to the grand final. The last team to have made the grand final in the top 8 era, outside the top 4, was Adelaide in 1998. Speaking of Adelaide, well, their 2016 season is also sadly over. The Crows will go down by 36 points against Sydney. As we'll see, the Swatties are through to the prelim this year in 2016 versus Geelong. Well, that's Adelaide's chances of a prelim against Geelong done and dusted as well. What a game that was for Sydney. Josh Kennedy had a complete finals performance in this game. 42 disposals, 10 clearances, and he was a bit inaccurate on the scoreboard. If he kicked 3 goals, well, probably would have been one of the best finals games of all time. Isaac Heaney had a great one as well with 32 disposals, 9 marks and a goal. Well, Scott Thompson, he's been Adelaide's best player in this game. This could be one of his last games. 21 disposals, 9 tackles, and 9 clearances and a goal. Anyways, for the multiple goal kickers in this game, Tom Papley and Buddy Franklin with 4 each for the Swannies. Ben McGlynn 3 and Xavier Richards 2. As for Adelaide, Eddie Betts with 3, Tex Walker 2, Mitch McGovern 2, Tom Lynch 2, and Charlie Cameron 2. Off Sydney goes to the 2016 preliminary final. Anyways, before we take a look at the finals teams, there has been a few more who have left their clubs. For Essendon, Tate Powers has hung up the boots. Well, he had a very unlucky career. I remember he showed a lot of promise back in 2009. It looked like he was going to have a long career ahead of him at Essendon, but only just 70 games and 3 goals. The last of which came in 2015. He's had a lot of bad luck with injuries. As for and there was another one with bad luck run of injuries has hung up the boots. Anthony Morabito. He was the number 4 pick back in 2009. He showed a lot of promise in 2010. He had to wait 4 years to finally come back to footy. And he has announced his retirement at the young age of 25. While Clem Smith has been delisted by Carlton. As for the West Coast Eagles, Patrick McGinnity, Jamie Bedell, Kane Lucas, Brant College, Alex Waterman, and Corey Adamson have all been delisted. Meanwhile, North Melbourne will say goodbye to Farron Ray and Robin Nass. They will be saying goodbye to the Kangaroos. Farron Ray has hung up the boots. As we all remembered, he was integral part of that 2009 and 10 St Kilda teams, which made 3 grand finals. One of them was a draw against Collingwood. He was one of the best players in that draw grand final. And now we got some more delisting news before we head to the preliminary final. Jason Ashby, Sean Edwards, and Tom Wallace have all said goodbye to Essendon. As for Collingwood, Matthew Goodyear, Darren White, and Tim Golds have all been delisted. And yeah, Tim Golds, he came for GWS in the previous draft, alongside his good mate Adam Treloar, who's had a great season for Collingwood. While Adelaide, after that disastrous semi-final against the Swans, have said goodbye to Luke Loudon and Keenan Ramsey, who have all been delisted. And after their SANFL preliminary final exit at the hands of Sturt. Anyways, now we look at the teams of the preliminary final. Geelong versus Sydney. Let's look at the line. Well, Geelong have got Jed Hughes and Lachie Henderson coming in. Tom Ruggles and Daniel Menzel are out. Kurt Tippett and Zach Jones are back for the Swans. Out is Jared McVeigh and Toby Nankervis. As for the Cats, the back line will be Corey Enright, Tom Lonergan, and Lachie Henderson. Half-backs, Jake Kolodjajny, Harry Taylor, and Jed Hughes. Centre line, Cam Guthrie, and the Selwood brothers, John and Scott. Half-forward line, Stephen Motlop, Mark Blitzards, and Josh Cowan. Forward line, Lincoln McCarthy, Tom Hawkins, and Jimmy Bartell. For the ruck line, Reece Stanley, Paddy Dangerfield, and Josh Caddy. While on the interchange bench, Andrew Mackey, Zach Smith, Mitch Duncan, and Sam Menegola. Now we take a look at the Sydney Swans. In their back line, they got Nick Smith, Aliir, and Dane Rampy. Halfbacks, Jeremy Laidler, Heath Grundy, Zach Jones. Centre line, Isaac Heaney, Josh Kennedy, Jake Lloyd. Half forwards, Luke Parker, Buddy Franklin, Gary Ryan. Forward line, Ben McGlynn, Kurt Tippett, and Tom Papley. In the rucks, we've got Sam Naismith, Dan Hanbury, and Kieran Jack. On the interchange bench, Tom Mitchell, George Hewitt, Harry Marsh, and Xavier Richards. And for my prediction for the preliminary final, Geelong and Sydney at the MCG. Well, I reckon the Sydney Swans are going to the grand final. I got Sydney by 41 points in this game. Now, we got the other preliminary final to look at, the second one in Sydney. GWS versus the Western Bulldogs. As this is starting to become a bit of a rivalry between the two sides. This preliminary final will be important for this 2014 trade, which saw Ryan Griffin make his way to GWS and Tom Boyd make his way to the Western Bulldogs. Who will make the grand final? Will Griffin make the grand final before his old team does? Or will the Western Bulldogs make the grand final before Ryan Griffin does? And he captained them in 2014 before he left for the Giants. Changes, Reece Palmer comes in for the suspended Stevie J. Fletcher Roberts will come in for Matt Suckling, who is out with an Achilles injury. Now we look at the Giants. Back line, we've got Adam Tomlinson, Phil Davis, and Nick Haynes. Halfbacks, Heath Shaw, Joel Patfull, and Ryan Griffin. Centre line, Zach Williams, Stephen Canelio, and Tom Scully. Half forwards are Josh Kelly, Jeremy Cameron, and John O'Patton. Forward line, Reece Palmer. Back at the side, Rory Lobb and Devin Smith. In the ruck, Shane Mumford, Toby Green, and Callum Ward. On the bench, you got Jacob Hopper, Dylan Shield, Lachie Whitfield. Well, this could be one of his last games for a while. As on this weekend, well, he had a positive drug test returned, and he got caught lying about it. He was caught lying about it alongside Gubby Allen and Craig Lambert, with Gubby leaving GWS to go to, well, possibly to go to Collingwood. And I reckon this could be it for Craig Lambert's time at GWS as one of the assistant coaches. They're coming in with a bit tainted. As for the Dogs, in the back line, you got Matthew Boyd, Joel Hambling, and Jason Johannesson. Halfbacks, Easton Wood, Dale Morris, and Fletcher Roberts. Centre line, Liam Pickin, Marcus Bontempelli, and Lachie Hunter. Half forwards, Jake Stringer, Zane Cordy, and Josh Dunkley. Forward line, Clay Smith, Tom Boyd, and Tory Dixon. Ruck line is Jordan Ruffhead, Luke Dowhouse, and Tom Liberatore. Interchange bench, we got Jack McRae, Toby McLean, Shane Biggs, and Caleb Daniel. And I reckon the final score for the prelim, I got a feeling the Western Bulldogs will get up by 6 points. And here's my grand final predicted. The Western Bulldogs in Sydney at the MCG. Anyways, we'll see you for the grand final edition of Lachie's soon-to-be Lachie Does Footy.